Ryan Cross stood at the edge of the Solari Empire's Grand Throne Hall, trying to be invisible. As a diplomatic aide and translator, his job was facilitating communication, not drawing attention. The summit was tense. Human delegations negotiating trade agreements with the Solari Empire, a powerful species whose hierarchical society made every interaction politically fraught. Queen Lysa Veyar presided from her throne, distinctive pointed ears rising above silver hair, luminescent markings along her temples and neck glowing with colors that indicated her emotional state to those who could read them. Purple meant focused authority. She was very purple today. Ryan had worked as her cultural advisor and translator for 6 months now, helping bridge the gap between human and Solari diplomatic languages. He'd learned to read her markings, understand her subtle signals, anticipate when tensions needed diffusing. But today felt different, dangerous. A Solari general, Lord Crevath, military commander with significant political influence, was challenging the Queen's authority directly, something rarely done publicly. "Your Majesty," Crevath said, voice carrying across the hall, "your softness toward humans weakens our position. You grant them concessions that benefit their interests over Solari security. The Council questions whether personal sentiment has compromised your judgment." The accusation was clear. The Queen was too sympathetic to humans, possibly influenced inappropriately. Queen Lysa's markings shifted to red anger, barely controlled. "My judgment serves the Empire's long-term interests. Trade benefits both species. Dismissing mutual advantage as softness is strategic blindness. Yet you keep a human in your private council chambers." Crevath turned, pointing directly at Ryan. "This one," he whispers in your ear, "influences policy, gains knowledge of our internal matters. Some would call that dangerous. Others would call it infiltration." Ryan felt every eye in the hall turn toward him. His heart hammered. This wasn't about him personally. He was a convenient target to attack the Queen's policies. But the accusation was public, serious, and deadly. "Explain to this council," Crevath continued, "why we should tolerate a human having such access to our sovereign. What claim does he have to your confidence?" The hall fell silent, waiting for the Queen's response. Queen Lysa rose slowly from her throne. Her markings blazed brilliant red gold, fury mixed with something Ryan had never seen before, something fierce and possessive. When she spoke, her voice carried absolute authority that made everyone freeze. "He is human." 3 words, deafening in the sudden silence. Ryan's brain stuttered. "His what?" The hall exploded into shocked murmuring. Solari nobles turned to each other, clearly stunned. The human delegates looked confused and alarmed. Lord Crevath's expression cycled through shock to calculation. "Your Majesty, surely you don't mean—" "I mean exactly what I said." Lysa descended from her throne, each step deliberate. "Ryan Cross is under my personal protection. He serves at my discretion, with my absolute trust. Any challenge to him is a challenge to me directly. Does anyone wish to make that challenge formal?" Her markings blazed with warning colors Ryan recognized as threat display. No one spoke. Lysa held the silence for another moment, then turned to her advisors. "This summit is concluded for today. We resume tomorrow when everyone has remembered appropriate protocol." She left the hall with regal dignity, her entire court scrambling to follow. Ryan stood frozen, trying to process what just happened. The Queen had just claimed him, publicly, in front of both governments. He had no idea what that meant, but from the shocked faces around him, it was significant, and possibly catastrophic. Ryan was summoned to the Queen's private chambers an hour later. He entered to find Lysa alone, her markings now showing deep purple mixed with agitated red, stress and controlled emotion. "Sit," she commanded. Ryan sat, his own emotions churning. "Your Majesty, what was that?" "That was me protecting you from a political attack that could have resulted in your expulsion or worse. By claiming me as yours, like property." Lysa's markings flared. "Not property, protection. In Solari culture, claiming someone as mine is a formal declaration of sworn guardianship. It means I bind my honor to your safety, your conduct, your presence in our society. It's the highest commitment a Solari can make. Ryan tried to process this. So you declared yourself my protector. More than that, I declared you are under my direct authority, answerable only to me, beyond the reach of political enemies who would use you to attack my policies. She paused. It's also irrevocable. Once made publicly, I cannot withdraw the claim without destroying my own honor. So you've bound yourself to defending me, permanently. Yes. Ryan felt the weight of that. Why? I'm a diplomatic aide, useful but not worth risking your political capital. Lysa was quiet for a long moment. Her markings shifted through colors he'd learned indicated internal conflict. Finally, because Crevath wasn't entirely wrong. What? You do influence my thinking. You do have unusual access to my private counsels. You have become. She stopped, clearly struggling. More important to me than a mere aide should be. Ryan's heart hammered for different reasons now. Your Majesty, when Crevath attacked you, I responded from emotion, not strategy. I spoke from. She met his eyes. From feelings I haven't fully acknowledged until forced to defend you publicly. The claim wasn't just political protection, Ryan. It was personal declaration. The air between them felt charged. Ryan had been carefully professional for 6 months, never allowing himself to consider that the Queen might see him as anything more than useful staff. But looking back now, he recognized moments that suddenly made sense. Her questions about his life beyond work, the way she consulted him privately on matters beyond his official role, small protections she'd extended that seemed generous but now felt personal. You have feelings for me, he said slowly. I have developed attachment, respect, trust. Lysa's markings showed vulnerability Ryan had never seen from her, emotions inappropriate for a queen toward her staff by both our culture's standards, but real nonetheless. And by claiming me publicly, you've announced those feelings to everyone. In Solari terms, yes, though I can claim it was purely political protection if you wish. No one can prove otherwise. Ryan absorbed this. His own feelings were complicated. He admired Lysa tremendously, respected her intelligence and strength. But he'd never let himself consider more, given the power imbalance and cultural differences. What happens now? He asked. That depends on you. Lysa's voice was carefully controlled. You can accept my claim and the protection it offers, or you can reject it publicly, which would humiliate me politically but free you from any obligation. If I reject it, what happens to you? My authority is damaged, my judgment questioned. I likely survive politically but weakened. And if I accept, you become formally mine in Solari understanding. Under my protection, bound to my household, with status and authority derived from that connection. You would no longer be a simple aide but someone of political significance. Ryan thought about this carefully. Your Majesty, Lysa, I need you to understand something. To humans, being claimed sounds like being owned. The language makes me uncomfortable even knowing the cultural context. I know, your language of partnership is different. More equal. Yes, so if I accept your claim, I need to understand we're partners. Not owner and possession, but mutual commitment. You protect me, I stand with you, both ways. Lysa's markings shifted to warm gold, hope, affection. That's acceptable, that's what I want. Then I accept, but we do this honestly. You claim me publicly because you have feelings for me. I accept because I respect you, care about you, and choose to stand with you. Not because I'm owned, but because I'm choosing this. Agreed. They sat in silence for a moment, both adjusting to this new reality. This is going to be complicated politically, Ryan said. Catastrophically so, Lysa agreed. But I find I don't regret it. Neither do I. Her markings glowed warm gold, and for the first time since he'd known her, Queen Lysa Veyar smiled without any political calculation, just genuine happiness. The fallout was exactly as complicated as predicted. Solari nobles questioned the Queen's judgment. Human diplomats worried about Ryan's safety and what his connection to the Queen meant for negotiations. Ryan had to decide whether to truly stand with Lysa or retreat to safer ground. He chose to stand. In a formal statement to both delegations, Ryan accepted the Queen's claim publicly, framing it in terms both cultures could understand. Solari protection and human partnership, mutual commitment that served both personal and political interests. Some accepted this. Many didn't. But Ryan and Lysa worked together to navigate the crisis, their relationship shifting openly from professional to personal. Lysa taught Ryan what being her human truly meant in Solari culture, not possession but chosen bond, mutual loyalty, protection that flowed both directions, a commitment considered sacred, rarely given lightly. Ryan shared human perspectives on partnership, on equality in relationships, on building something together rather than one protecting the other. They bridged cultural gaps through honest communication, compromise, and genuine care for each other. Months passed. Their bond deepened. What started as political protection and confession of feeling evolved into real partnership. They governed together, negotiated together, faced opposition together. At another summit 6 months later, a different Solari lord challenged Ryan directly, questioning his right to influence the Queen's decisions. Lysa started to respond, but Ryan stood first. In perfect Solari, with every cultural nuance correct, he said, "I am hers and she is mine. We are bonded by mutual choice and sworn protection. Question that bond again and you answer to both of us." The hall fell silent again, but this time it was Ryan who commanded it. Lysa's markings blazed with pride and affection. The Lord backed down. After the summit, Lysa asked, "You claimed me back, in front of everyone. You claimed me first, seemed only fair to return the gesture. In Solari culture, that's tantamount to a marriage proposal." Ryan smiled. "In human culture too, actually, so should we make it formal?" Lysa's markings glowed brilliant gold. "Yes, through both our customs, so no one can question what we mean to each other." Agreed. They formalized their bond through both Solari and human ceremonies, creating a union that honored both cultures, satisfied political necessities, and celebrated personal commitment. Not everyone accepted it. Some Solari nobles never would. Some humans saw Ryan as compromised by foreign influence. But Lysa and Ryan had built something real, founded on that moment when she'd claimed him publicly, and he'd chosen to accept, not from obligation, but from genuine feeling. A year after Lysa's declaration, their partnership had become undeniable reality. Ryan was no longer a diplomatic aide but the Queen's formal consort, with authority and responsibility he'd never imagined. He attended council meetings, advised on policy, represented Solari interests in human space. Some Solari accepted him, others tolerated him for the Queen's sake, a few actively opposed him. But he'd proven himself through consistent action, sound judgment, and unwavering support for Lysa even when it cost him politically. The human governments had adjusted too. Ryan became a bridge between species, someone who understood both cultures deeply and could translate not just language but intent. At a celebration marking the anniversary of the summit, someone asked Lysa if she regretted that public declaration, given the complications it had caused. "Never," she said, her markings glowing warm gold. "It was the truest thing I've ever said. I claimed him publicly because keeping silent would have betrayed what he meant to me. Yes, it caused complications. But it also created something genuine." Ryan added, "She claimed me, I claimed her back. Everything else is just details we've worked through together." They stood together, queen and consort, Solari and human, partners in every sense that mattered. That moment in the hall when Lysa had shouted, "He is my human," and silence fell, had become the foundation for everything that followed. Not ownership, not possession, but chosen bonds strong enough to withstand political pressure, cultural differences, and the weight of two governments' scrutiny. Later in private, Ryan asked Lysa, "Do you remember exactly what you felt in that moment, when Crevath attacked me? Fury, fear for you, an overwhelming need to make clear you were under my protection." Her markings shifted through warm colors. "I didn't plan to claim you publicly. The words came from instinct, from emotion I'd been suppressing for months. Best instinct you've ever had. You think so? I know so. Because it forced us both to be honest about feelings we'd been dancing around. It created space for this." He gestured between them. "Would we have found this if you hadn't made that declaration?" Lysa considered. "Eventually, perhaps. But it would have taken longer, been more tentative. The public claim forced us to confront what we felt instead of pretending it didn't exist. So sometimes shouting your feelings in a throne hall is good strategy. I wouldn't recommend it generally, but in our case." She smiled. "Yes." They stood at the window of the royal chambers, looking out over the Solari capital, a city that had slowly, grudgingly accepted that their queen had chosen a human partner. "They still talk about that moment," Ryan said. "The declaration, your markings blazing red gold, the silence. Let them talk. That moment defined us. I claimed you publicly when you were being attacked. You accepted and stood with me despite the costs. We built everything from that foundation. No regrets. None. You." Ryan took her hand. "Not one. You're my queen. I'm your human. That's all that matters." Lysa's markings glowed brilliant gold, pure happiness, undiluted by political calculation or cultural concern. "Yes," she agreed. "That's all that matters." The hall had fallen silent when she made her claim. But from that silence came partnership, love, and proof that chosen bonds transcend cultural differences when built on honesty and mutual respect. Sometimes the most important declarations are the ones shouted without calculation, revealing truth that can't be taken back. And sometimes, being claimed publicly becomes the beginning of something neither expected, but both choose to build together.